Mafia, we finally get some breaking news from the NBA in regards to a very rare thing that we see in the NBA nowadays. I don't remember the last time a playoff caliber team made a trade in the midst of the NBA playoffs. Typically, it occurs after the NBA playoffs, but in this instance, the Boston Celtics finally made their first move underneath the Brad Stevens regime, and they're going to bring back a familiar friend to the fold. Now, before we get to the content, just a quick reminder, I'm going to be doing a jersey giveaway every 2 weeks on this channel. All you have to do is subscribe and turn on our notifications to enter, and let me know what jersey you want in the comment section down below. If you could also leave a like on this video, that'd be really appreciated. And now that we got all that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? I like to open this video with an apology. Typically, I take pride in being able to get these videos out to you quickly, but in this instance, I was planning on Friday being my day off, and well, that's why you're getting a breaking news trade video an hour and a half to 2 hours later, whereas I'd like it to be literally like 20 to 30 minutes later. 2 years ago, the Boston Celtics had to make a pivotal move in their franchise, and what I mean by that is they literally needed to pivot from one transcendent point guard that pretty much turned them down and chose the Brooklyn Nets over them, to at least a point guard that could somewhat fill in those gigantic shoes that Kyrie Irving left in Boston. So ultimately, they pivoted to acquiring Kemba Walker, signing Kemba Walker to a 4-year, $141 million contract. And look, I'm going to be honest, I am a guy that really takes pride in his takes whenever he makes good takes or bad takes. I was one of the individuals that thought that Kemba Walker could fit into the Boston Celtics significantly better than Kyrie Irving could, mainly not because of his talent, because I think Kyrie Irving's significantly more talented than Kemba Walker, but I felt like since Kemba was on the Charlotte Hornets for the entirety of his career at that time, the fact that he'd have the opportunity to play on a contending team in a winning culture like the Boston Celtics would probably be significantly better for Boston's chemistry and would result in great success. But unfortunately, that's not what would happen. In his first season, he would average 20 points per game off of 43% shooting, 38% from three, and his statistics wouldn't really tell the entire story. The issue was he wasn't 100% available whenever the Boston Celtics would need him the most. And then this past year, we saw a combination of both him not being available when the Celtics would need him the most and injuries hampering his progress, as he'd only played in 43 games this past year. But his advanced statistics would also take a dive, going from an offensive box plus minus of a 5.2 in his final year in Charlotte to a 4.9 in his first year in Boston, all the way down to a 2.5. His player efficiency rating would be the lowest of his career since his rookie season, and he was a huge defensive liability as well. Meanwhile, you have the Oklahoma City Thunder, which, if you are ever taking a business economics class, I want you to pay attention to the way Sam Presti runs his team, because what he has been doing has been nothing short of remarkable. This is a man that didn't even plan to rebuild until Paul George came up to him and say, hey, the Los Angeles Clippers want to make you an offer that you can't refuse, and they want you to trade me to them for 7 first-round picks. He accepts that trade offer. Then he goes to Russell Westbrook and say, hey, you could choose whatever team you want to be traded to, because I know you don't want to be on a rebuilding team. He trades Russell Westbrook to the Houston Rockets for a package that's built around Chris Paul. The Houston Rockets would trade back a 2021 draft pick that's 1 to 4 protected, a 2025 pick swap that's 1 to 20 protected, and a 2026 first round pick that's 1 to 4 protected. And then this cascade would continue. The OKC Thunder would hold on to Chris Paul for a year, show the entire world that this guy could still play basketball, and after Chris Paul would average 17 points points, 5 rebounds, and 6.5 assists. They would trade him for Kelly Oubre, Ricky Rubio, Ty Jerome, Jalen Leck, a 2022 first-round pick, and then would trade Kelly Oubre to the Golden State Warriors, and Ricky Rubio would then get traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Dennis Schroeder would get traded to the Los Angeles Lakers for Danny Green, and then Danny Green would get flipped to the Philadelphia 76ers for Al Horford, and they would get multiple first-round picks for taking that contract on as well. Now, what I said last year when Al Horford got traded to the OKC Thunder is I have no idea how they're going to boost this man's stock and flip him this time, because Al Horford had one of the most disgusting contracts in the entire NBA. But in Al Horford, you had a situation where the man is just happy to get paid. He clearly can't contribute to a roster very much. So literally what Al Horford did at that point was he took a vacation for about a year. And then we got today's breaking news where somehow, some way, Sam Presti was able to figure out a way to get a lottery draft pick in return for a player that nobody wanted a year ago. So according to Adrian Wojnarowski, officially 2 hours ago, my apologies once again for being so freaking late. I'm very embarrassed by this, to be honest. The Boston Celtics are trading Kemba Walker, the number 16 overall pick in the 2021 NBA draft, and a 2025 second-round draft pick to OKC for Al Horford, Moses Brown, and a 2023 second-round pick. This is officially Brad Stevens' first move as a general manager for the Boston Celtics, and there were some things that went down here that personally surprised me. I thought this trade would probably go down after the draft lottery, but alas, that's not what ended up happening. Now, this is where things get pretty insane. If you're the Boston Celtics, what you're getting is cap relief by getting rid of Kemba Walker. You bring in a familiar face that clearly was very important to the way that the Celtics played basketball. If Brad Stevens went out and traded for a player that literally took a vacation over the past year, Al Horford's contract doesn't nearly look as bad. He only has 2 years left on his contract, and the Celtics get to kind of expedite their ability to get some cap relief in the future, and you fill a huge position of need. Al Horford was a phenomenal big man for the Boston Celtics, and probably his best years were for the Boston Celtics. Now, at this point, he's 35 years old, so I don't really know how much of a contribution he'd be able to make, but needless to say, he's a guy that's worked out for the Celtics in the past during his 3 years there, and the Celtics could move on from Kemba Walker, which clearly wasn't working out. Meanwhile, the OKC Thunder get a third lottery pick in this year's NBA draft lottery, which, by the way, I know you guys have been asking. We will be doing a lottery reaction like we do every year on this channel. And if a few lottery balls bounce their way, then you're looking at a team that could have 2 draft picks in the top 5 in this year's NBA draft. And you clearly can tell what they're going to be doing with Kemba Walker next. Kemba Walker isn't that old. He just didn't fit in with Boston's offense. So they're probably going to insert him into CP3's role 2 years ago, have him play alongside Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and probably flip him for another first-round pick in a year from now, which I look forward to coming back in a year from now and making another video like this. Either way, I think this trade works out wonderfully for both sides. I give the Boston Celtics an A. Kemba Walker wasn't working out. You have to pay him significantly more money, and getting out of his contract is to your best interest. You already have enough young players, and I'm sure Brad Stevens is kind of traumatized from the amount of mid-round picks that were made that just didn't pan out for the Boston Celtics. And for Sam Presti, this is just a typical Sam Presti trade. You're trying to flip a player and get draft assets to continue your rebuild. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about this move, and grade the trade in the comment section down below as well. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.